Good morning. Tēnā koutou te whānau o Auckland Unitarians. Tēnā koutou nā manahiri, no mai, haere mai, ki tēnei whare karakia a te atua, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Welcome to this space made sacred by Auckland Unitarians for about 6 generations. This space is no longer constrained by either building or geography. So this is your space whether you enter through the front door, live streaming, or later through Zoom. This is your home where no revealed truths and no scripture or human being is accepted as infallible. This is a place for searching for truth. If you're here for the first time, you have come on a special day in the life of this congregation. This is the Sunday we welcome those who have chosen to declare publicly that they are one with this congregation. They offer and we receive their individual gifts, energy, and commitment to our common life dedicated to promoting our Unitarian values as encompassed in our 7 principles. For this occasion, I offer these words by Dana Worsnop as edited by me. Often people say they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know they aren't getting it quite right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved, to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no name at all for God. I want to be with people who see me in me goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who see life as a paradox and don't always rush to resolve it. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who want their religion, for lack of a better term, to call them into a different way of being in the world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge each other to higher and more ethical living. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and minds and gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you. For our Chalice Lighting, as drops of rain that bind each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea, so are we drawn together. so are we fortunate to find each other. So we are bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. I like this chalice to guide us on our way. I now invite you to stand to sing Spirit of Life. I'd like to offer this reading, a poem called Threshold by Maggie Smith. I don't think it's the actress. You want a door you can be on both sides of at once. You want to be on both sides of here and there, now and then, together. And what did we call the life we would wish back? The old life, the before? No, alone, together and alone. But any open space may be a threshold, an arch of entering and leaving, crossing a field, wading through nothing but Timothy grass. Imagine yourself passing from and into, passing through doorway after doorway after doorway. I invite you to stand to sing our Koha hymn, 121. I hoped I chose an intriguing title for my musings this morning. I wondered where I was going to go with it when I came up with it. From my experience, one of the most difficult things to do in life is to cross a threshold. I would like to be able to claim that I do so bravely and boldly. Sadly, human frailty being what it is, that has often not been the case. Sometimes it has required tornado public transport to move me from Kansas to Oz. Sometimes I have crossed by accident while playing hide and seek with myself and my fears in the back of a wardrobe. The problem with thresholds is there is only one thing to expect: the unexpected. Such is the nature of parallel universes to which we might venture. You never know what or who will greet you on the other side. Will it be a joyfully singing Munchkin choir and a good witch bearing a gift of ruby slippers, or Mr. Tumnus the fawn under a lamppost who catches humans for the evil white witch in a land where it is always winter and never Christmas? Well, I don't want to send you, our new members, scrambling for the exits. It's only fair to warn you that signing the membership book is a threshold event. It is a ticket of admittance to a parallel universe. This isn't purely a ritual that can be forgotten tomorrow. Everything changes for you and also for us. You and we have to reconsider who we are now, for we certainly aren't the same as we were yesterday. We aren't unfamiliar with the task. A couple welcoming their first child into the world spend a lot of time considering this question. Losing a parent, adopting a puppy, changing careers, moving to a new town, ending a relationship, and the list goes on and on. Each of these occasions is preceded by expectations. Instead, the unexpected shows up. It can be a little unnerving. On a good day, I turn to one of my sources of wisdom, writer Rainer Maria Rilke, and his Letters to a Young Poet. I want to beg you, as much as I can, dear sir, to be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now seek the answers, which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. The key to entering a threshold is to live the questions it presents. Perhaps sharing the last set of thresholds I've had to cross will make my point clearer. And I confess to being a little vulnerable, feeling a little vulnerable doing so. When I turned 65, social expectations were pushing me to go through a threshold called retirement. I didn't want to go because the Anglican church I served at the time was, every time I practice this, I forgot the knot. I did want to go because the Anglican church I served at the time was under new management, intent to meet the bishop's expectation of stamping out the heresies I had so carefully planted there. When the congregation's hope that I would become the new vicar were foiled, it fractured further my relations with my partner at the time, a relationship that would eventually crumble under the weight of it. When it crumbled, so did my support system. So I did want to go. And no, I didn't want to go. It was a community I loved. It had been a time of immense growth for me. It turns out I thrive in notoriety. I didn't have to leave, and yet I had to, albeit with feelings overwhelmed by grief. That threshold led to the next. I really did not want to retire. So I knocked on the Auckland Unitarian door instead. I had lots of questions about doing so, but it was a time to live them. I was warmly welcomed in. Not surprisingly, I didn't know what knocking on the door would require. It turns out there's a world of difference between being an Anglican priest and a Unitarian minister. Just being heretical wasn't going to cut it. Unitarians have been challenging doctrine and dogma from day one. I was going to have to let go of the trappings of priesthood that had contributed to my authority. My favorite rituals would need to be put aside. My beautiful vestments relegated to the back of the wardrobe. I had to learn to watch my language. No, not cursing, but words that trigger victims of toxic Christianity and stop rationalists from hearing me. Words like God, church, prayer. I had to learn how to create a worship experience without my usual tools for doing so. I had lots of questions about what that would look like. As the services evolved, I did decide to keep wearing this small piece of plastic in my collar, partly as an act of rebellion, and partly as a reminder of where my journey began. Ultimately, I had to learn how to contribute to this faith community in a whole new way. My task was to be a catalyst. A catalyst is an active but unobtrusive participant in a group, keeping them moving towards their mission, their kaupapa, but not dominating them. A catalyst is an example of our principles, leading others through carefully considered action. A catalyst remembers that no matter what their role, they will eventually be gone, leaving no trace of themselves except a beloved community full of people like you who have declared their intention to enter a parallel universe by signing the membership book. It has been a source of true joy to watch this community enter threshold after threshold, to live out your questions about how to embody your faith in your homes, at work, and in the community. And it turns out we're all catalysts. If we live these 5 questions on crossing the threshold, suggested by Quaker educator and activist Palmer J. Parker. First question, how can I let go of my need for fixed answers in favor of aliveness? Need to repeat that? How can I let go of my need for fixed answers in favor of aliveness? What is my next change in daring to be human? How can I open myself to the beauty of nature and human nature? Who or what do I need to learn to love next, and next, and next? What is the new creation that wants to be born in and through me? When we live these questions, the answers still elude us, leaving us uncertain at the threshold. If we are ever going to find answers, we have to enter the universe parallel to the one we have been in. Anne Hillman, in her poem, "We Look with Uncertainty," offers a reason to do so. We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which in every moment at the brink of death, for something new is being born in us, if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures, vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love. Amen. Well, I see all those who thought they might become new members are still here. So I invite Cherie to come forward, and we'll ask them to introduce themselves.
I want to make sure bet I get your family names right, because I don't think I've ever said them out loud before. So do forgive me if I get them wrong. Ted Zorn, would you like to come up, please? Anton. Skinny. Sakima. Sakima, thank you. Please come up. And Joel Hildebrand, please come and join us.
Oh, is it up to me? All right. Well, I suppose the first thing is for you to kind of introduce yourself and why you're willing to go through this threshold. What brought you to this precipitous point? At there, yeah.
Now I feel really exposed. So I'm Ted Zorn. I was going through a bit of a life crisis in the middle of last year, a different sort of threshold. And I think going through that crisis, knew I wanted to do things differently and knew I wanted to do some different things, but I didn't quite know what either of those were. I'd had a brief experience with the Unitarian Church in the States when I lived there many, many years ago. I've been in New Zealand 25 years, despite the accent. It was a brief and loose connection, but it sort of made me think about possibilities, and I knew what I wanted was to make new connections, and I knew that I wanted words and ideas that would inspire, that would provoke, make me think differently about how I was living my life and how I wanted to live my life. So I came through that threshold. Sorry, it's emotional. And I sat on the second row, and Sean Miller sat next to me and welcomed me, and I sort of clung to him for a few weeks. In fact, the first week that I came, I didn't stay for the coffee and tea afterwards. I don't even think I stayed for the small group discussion. But it was at least a starting point. And I sort of continued. Obviously, Clay's kept me here by giving me a job. And people like Mark have realized that they can call on me for things like bringing flowers if no one has volunteered at the last minute. So that's made me feel a real part of this as well. And the men's group has been fantastic to make me feel a part of this community. So thank you all for that.
And this is Anton. Anton, you need to hold the mic kind of.
Real close.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, I'm Anton Sakima. It's nice to be here today. Nice to see you people. My connection with this church sort of stemmed about 50 odd years ago when my father sort of attended. He's part of the Humanist Society. He also attended, used the Unitarian Church as a place of meeting, and he was very connected to the sort of the intellectual and spiritual sort of feelings or beliefs with the Unitarian Church, and well connected to it, and did have a lot of passion. And of course, as a little child, 7-year-old running around here, it was like all very new and wonderful to me. So, in time, unfortunately, he sort of passed away in '84, and his funeral was here. And I got married here 21 years ago as well, so a little bit more of a connection, but not to the Unitarian Church, but more per se the place itself, which is great nostalgia. So last year, I sort of had an awakening or an epiphany. It's like, gee, I really need to be reconnected to, I don't know, the place and the Unitarian belief, as I was sort of reading through a lot of stuff on the site, and it sort of just connected, strongly with me, and I felt a strong connection to sort of with, light, free-minded, intellectual sort of thinking people that I've sort of come to sort of meet in the last sort of couple of months since being here, and I'm enjoying it very much, and there's so much more to enjoy, and I know fantastic things that are sort of people are involved with the community and will go forward to do so, more so, and I love to be involved in that. And I think last fleeting thing to say is that I think the world could do with a hell of a lot more Unitarians, and it'd be a great place if there was more of them. So thank you very much for listening. Glad I got through that. It was actually...
Thank you, Anton. Joel.
I'm Joel Hildebrand, and thank you for saying my name right. I worried for a minute as I left the room that maybe Reverend Clay was thinking that his introduction to the idea of crossing a threshold had scared me off, but it was only just nature calling. That does sometimes happen when you're a little nervous.
Did cross my mind.
Sorry?
It did cross my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there goes Joel. I guess Judy might confirm that I'm sometimes someone who's slow about making commitments. Yesterday I was at the farmer's market in Ellen Melville, and I ran into an acquaintance and his girlfriend, and they said, "What are you doing this weekend?" And I said, "Oh, I'm becoming a member of this Unitarian church." And they said, "What's that?" So I tried to explain it to them, and they, as you do with the Unitarian thing, and they said, "Oh, that sounds kind of cool." These are people from another country, from South America, Brazil, and I'm sure they were probably raised Catholic, but they thought it sounded kind of cool, so maybe it is. I don't think that I actually do like all that stuff up on the wall, and I like the idea that we are independent thinkers and all of that stuff that we keep saying. But I think that my main motivation is actually about the people. The reason that I wanted to become part of this church is because I come here and do stuff with people, and people are nice to me, and that makes a difference in my life. And I appreciate that people are not judgmental. People are generally quite accepting, and that's a good thing to be part of. So here I am.
Thank you, Joel. Okay. Did you bring your service? You'll find there's a place where you, as the new members, say something in unison. And to hear them, I ask the congregation, if able, to please stand. Because then you're going to respond. So, new members, hit it.
We enter this faith.
Wait, stop. Come up here because the camera can't see you.
That's why I'm not there to.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to mime it.
Can the camera see us?
Right. We enter this faith with hope and possibility in our hearts, pledging to participate in our support in the ministries of this church. We covenant to retain true to the spirit of love that flows through this church and guides us. We seek your welcome as we join you in this faith.
And our response. We welcome you as once we were welcomed ourselves. We seek to be open and inclusive, respecting your inherent dignity, your ideas, and your visions. In times when it is easy, and in times when it's difficult. We seek to be supportive, not only when you reach out with courage to us. In return, we ask that you recognize our humanity. We will not always live up to our ideals, and we fall short. We invite you to stay in relationship with us and help us more fully bring alive the spirit of truth. And we welcome you as the equal member of this congregation, of this faith, and of our shared spiritual journey. We never know, really, what contribution or fate and friendship and good luck it is that good luck it is that brings certain people together in this world for any purpose. But we believe that membership in the church calls each of us here to celebrate the fate that has drawn us together and to regard each one as a spiritual friend and a potential teacher, even of occasional hard lessons. The relationships we form in our church are based on needs of the soul, needs that render each of us vulnerable and therefore reliant on each other's grace and goodness and generosity of spirit. As members of this church, we pledge to be guardians of each other's spirits, to respect the ultimate privacy of each one's human struggle, and to believe in each one's inherent dignity. Finally, as members of this congregation, we know that we can rely always on the wisdom of our covenant, which reminds us of our true purpose in being together. Let us join together with our newest church members and in affirming the covenant found in your order of service. Love is the doctrine in this church. The quest for truth is sacrament. Service is prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each other and with our God.
Let us stand if able to sing our closing hymn.
And now extinguish our virtual chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. My closing words are by one of my former mentors in life, my Episcopal church days. Her name is Carter Heyward. Carter is an Episcopal priest, theologian, author, and feminist. And she has these words to share. We are not automatic lovers of self, others, world, or God. Love does not just happen. We are not love machines, puppets on the strings of a deity called love. Love is a choice, not simply or necessarily a rational choice, but rather a willingness to be present to others without pretense or guile. Love is a conversion to humanity, a willingness to participate with others in the healing of a broken world and broken lives. Love is the choice to experience life as a member of the human family, a partner in the dance of life, rather than as an alien in the world or as a deity above the world, aloof and apart from human flesh. Cross the threshold. Go in peace. Go in joy. Go in love.